Hey everybody, it's Mike Bruce with Life Starts with Food, and as always, I'm here with somebody that I look up to, and somebody that has helped me along my journey in some ways. And it's just really exciting to be able to do this all the time, and be able to reach out to people and have a reason to talk to people and ask questions. So I'm here with Dr. Jack Wolfson, and he has a pretty neat background. He is a board certified cardiologist and a fellow of the American College of Cardiology. Something I like about him is he calls himself a a natural holistic cardiologist, which you don't ever hear of a person ever saying all of those words combined. And that's a really crazy thing to me. He has his ideas as well as himself. He's been on, have you been on NBC and CNN and all those things? I know I've seen different interviews with you.
Yes, I mean, I've been on all those, and CNN was kind of like my big one in 2015 as far as like nationwide big time CNN, that little foray I got into a little over 5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And that's awesome. And you've been in publications, USA Today, the Wall Street Journal. You started Wolfson Integrative Cardiology. When did you start that?
Back in 2012, I left the big cardiology group
Yeah.
after being there for 10 years, and then 2012, and the doctorswolfson.com and so on and so forth. But yeah, it took me a little while to get out of the medical matrix, but when I finally did, it was the best thing ever.
Yeah. And before that, you were you were a partner in the largest practice in Arizona for cardiology. That's amazing. That is not an easy thing to step out of that realm into the realm of natural medicine, because the realm of Western medicine is very lucrative. So that alone is a very hard thing to get away from. Um, and then something I didn't know about you, you teach other physicians natural heart health.
Yes,
So
so recently, actually, I started the Cardiovascular Health Institute to reach out to other physicians to be able to teach them what I know on holistic and integrative cardiology, because I think there's a huge need for it, number one, and especially now when people don't want to go to the doctor's office, people are a little concerned about traveling, people want health information right in their right in their home. Well, how do we educate the healthcare providers to be able to teach people the best way to do it? And that's what I'm really passionate about. So we've got MDs, DOs, DCs, naturopaths, nutritionists inside of the group, and it's really been something that's just a passion project for me to be able to teach other people the best way to do it.
that's a lot of fun. That's a really cool thing. And I don't know what my life ever brings, but if I can teach others, if I can ever form enough thought to teach others and I can actually structure it, that'll be a big blessing, I think, for me to be able to help others in that way. So, and lastly, not lastly at all, but you're number one best-selling author of the Paleo Cardiologist, the Natural Way to Heart Health, number one on Amazon, and you do lectures all over the country. And I've seen some clips of you and your wife on stage. You guys are a powerhouse couple. It is fun to watch the energy that you bring, and just the tone of your voice, the two of you, the way I love watching couples, period, because the way they look at each other, and there's pure joy when you see others in love, and it's a really cool thing. So I really like that. But how did you how did you even find holistic health?
Yeah, speaking of badasses, yeah, my wife is at the top of the list. She is so pure to her message. She is a fighter. She's not afraid of anyone or anything at any time. She is just a warrior. So, to understand that when I first met her back in 2000 and late 2004, and it was just a mutual friend introduced us, and I walked up to her, and we started talking, and I'm like, I'm a doctor, and she's like, so am I. And well, I'm a cardiologist, and I'm a chiropractor. But it's kind of interesting. At the time, I was just becoming a partner in the biggest group in Arizona as a hospital-based cardiologist, angiograms, pacemakers, all the high-tech medical procedures, along with all of the financial windfall that goes along with that. It was just really tremendous. It's just a money making factory of what cardiology is. And as we get in, as I meet her, And she, says, your medical model is a joke. Your procedures are worthless. Your pharmaceuticals are killing people. You need to step out of that paradigm. You need to get into the health and wellness space. You need to become a DC, not a doctor of chiropractic, but a doctor of cause. And what she said, was making perfect sense to me. I saw so much sickness, not only in my practice and in the hospitals, but I saw it in my own family. I saw the sickness in my father, who would eventually die at the age of 63. And she's like, if you don't want to become like your father, you better listen to what I'm saying. And we took him for his final diagnosis at the Mayo Clinic, and the Mayo Clinic had no idea why my father's sick. And here comes this 29-year-old chiropractor, and she's got all the reasons why he's sick. So I listened, and as you said before, it's, as cardiology is so lucrative, cardiologists are smart enough to understand everything that I'm saying. But when you basically rock the foundation, tear down the foundation of everything we've ever been taught, pull us out of that medical matrix, and for people to give up their long-held educational beliefs, their indoctrination, their brainwashing, have people give that up and give up the financial rewards and go against all your other peers, people aren't going to do that. There's a famous quote that I just, mentioned in my book from Upton Sinclair's book, The Jungle, from the early 1900s. It's hard to get a man to understand something when his job depends on him not understanding it.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's where it all started.
Yeah, that's an incredibly powerful quote. And that's, man, that's one that, I think I read that on your website recently too, and it just it just blows you away when you hear that. I do want to check while we are live. I want to just somebody make a note on this comment and make sure that you guys can see this, because we had one comment that people couldn't see. Someone couldn't see this, but I do see we have people viewing. So if you could just give us an answer there. So, so let's jump into this. Some of the things we wanted to talk about today, some of the things, who better to talk about than a cardiologist, is is saturated fat actually bad for us? I mean, this is something that I know as a paleo guy and a health coach. I've known for years that no, there's no problems here. It's not as easy to explain coming from a more layman approach. So go ahead and let's talk about saturated fat and just I don't want to say the beauty of it, but really the beauty of it in our bodies.
Well, once again, saturated fat is just another type of fat. It's, we're kind of commenting on the chemical structure of the fat itself. So is there monounsaturated fats, polyunsaturated fats, and saturated fats, and they all have a role in nature. And that's why when you eat animal flesh, there is a significant amount of saturated fat in there, because that's what humans need as well. We're essentially the same, and we need that saturated fat inside of our systems, and our body has to build saturated fats to have success and function for so many different cellular, activities. So as we give our body the fuel it needs to get the job done, well, part of that is saturated fat, and our ancestors consumed plenty of it. Is very clear from writings of archaeologists, paleontologists, how animals live in the wild. Again, they eat saturated fat. I think the poster child for saturated fat is coconuts, and coconut was vilified since the 1970s, when humans have been consuming it certainly for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of years eating coconut. And I even remember as a cardiology fellow, not that we ever talked about nutrition much, but it's just in conversations with other people, and they're like, oh, you got to avoid coconut, it's high in saturated fat. Well, where'd all that language come from? Of course, it came from, propaganda that was originally started by scientists working for the candy makers. So the candy makers said, you know what, this coconut oil is pretty expensive. We got to import it from the South Pacific. It's perfect for making candy, but again, it's very expensive. So we got to come up with some other dialogue and change the rhetoric around this. And therefore, let's talk about how bad coconut oil is. Well, they were using hydrogenated and tainted, oils. Number one. Number two, that was their agenda, was to come up with a hydrogenated soybean oil, which of course comes from my home state of Illinois, from the Midwest. Now, instead of paying $1, for example, for coconut oil, you're paying a penny for hydrogenated soybean oil. So that's where a lot of that rhetoric started to vilify that. And again, islands in the South Pacific, the people down there, like 50 to 60% of their diet is coconut based, coconut oil based. So much great literature on the benefits of coconut oil, how it's just great for brain health, great for inflammation. It's just, it's so wonderful cooking, so stable for cooking as well. So whether it comes from saturated fat intake from coconut, or it comes from animal products, again, saturated fat is not the villain. The literature doesn't support that. The literature actually supports a lot of benefits from sat fat. And another thing that contains saturated fat and cholesterol is eggs. Yet so much literature supports the use of eggs and the quality, and the benefits of eating eggs. Yet at the same time, we need not even look at the science, because science is only as good as the scientists who run the studies. And there's always an agenda from the scientists. They always come in with some form of bias, and it's impossible to exclude bias from results. But just look at nature. Every other animal is going after some other animal's eggs. They love animal, they love to do it. So it just makes sense.
That's a really good point.
An egg is a cocoon for a baby chicken. That's how you bring a chicken to life. You don't, try raising a chicken on oatmeal. You're not going to get very far.
Yeah. A friend of mine likes to say, he's a fellow health coach. He likes to say, we are the only animal on the planet that's confused about what food is. And it just makes so much sense. Yeah.
Well, exactly like you said, you don't have to teach a lion or a tiger or a deer or a buffalo what to eat, a bird what to eat. They just know instinctually what to eat and what not to eat. It's only the human that debates. Yet, we've known for 3.5 million years, we've been eating animal products for 3.5 million years, at least. That's what the literature is telling us. And we've been cooking our food for probably over 1 million years. So once again, our bodies are genetically designed and programmed to thrive eating those foods. And if anyone was listening to this and they are a vegan or know a vegan, please get them to eat seafood. I don't really care so much if they're eating organ meats or muscle meats, or again, buffalo, bison, chicken, cow, whatever it is. But please eat seafood. Seafood is the healthiest food on the planet. There's nothing that even ranks close to eating seafood.
Yeah. Are you worried, just with that, are you worried about, because our seas are pretty dirty nowadays, and but so is our air, right? So with the heavy metals and different things that people are fearful of in fish now, what is your recommendation for sort of avoiding those things outside of just making sure you have wild caught?
Yeah, I think, listen, from a fatalistic standpoint, the whole planet's destroyed. I mean, polar bears have 200 plus chemicals in their blood. Newborn babies have over 200 plus chemicals in their blood. Our planet is absolutely destroyed.
Yeah.
And, once again, I do very in-depth testing on my patients, and we look at all those things, whether it's phthalates, parabens, plastics, pesticides, and everybody is just loaded with these things. So that being said, I think there are cleaner sources than others. And like you said, organic is key. Wild is key. Let me segue here. People that have the highest level of pesticides have a 300% higher risk of cardiovascular death. That's new data that's out recently. But nonetheless, when we eat things like wild salmon, small fish like sardines, anchovies, the benefits far, far, far outweigh the risks. I test people. People are not coming up high in mercury, lead, cadmium, arsenic, or anything else when they're eating those high quality seafoods.
So that's a really interesting point to make, because you do a lot of testing because of pesticides, and you are a big advocate of, like, listen, if you can make one step, make it organic. Above all else, just make your food organic. Go into that for us some, because you are very passionate about that. And I love hearing somebody that really has a good understanding about what they're saying.
Yeah, well, first of all, listen, glyphosate, atrazine, the previous DDT, which gets metabolized into DDA. Again, there's so many different pesticides that are out there. All those destroy the environment. So if we're looking to quickly destroy our planet, which we're doing, that is the way to do it with pesticides. So getting away from pesticides is really paramount. Again, the literature just goes on and on and on about all the risks with pesticide use. So even if you eat cookies, cupcakes, ice cream, or you drink vodka, tequila, or whiskey, or eating potato chips and pretzels, yeah, just do it organically, because then you get all the stuff that you love, but you don't get the chemicals. That's obviously very, very important, and it's something that everybody can do. Is it a little more expensive? Yes, it's a little more expensive, but you know what? Save money in other places. Don't scrimp on your food.
Yeah.
And certainly when it comes to your family, very, very important. Keep it always organic, and that's a good start.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one way to save money is just, you could buy the organic coffee at home instead of drinking the $15 worth of coffee every day out and about. Which, with this whole lockdown kind of thing, I'm not a fan of it, but it does have its blessings. And some of that is more tight-knit families and people actually making food at home and finding their local farmers. And so there's been a lot of, I am not a fan of it. There's been a lot of blessings, though, that I have seen in my own life because of all this. So, so you said when you test people, a previous podcast I heard you on, you were talking about when you actually test people for pesticides, you're pretty blown away. Pesticides and other chemicals that are coming from non-organic foods, you have a high amount of these chemicals in people's bodies, and like you were saying, all these numbers, and the study that you said just came out that completely ties that to heart disease. Like, these are all things that we just want to blow off as, it's no big deal. But women walk out of the house. The average woman walks out of the house with, I think, over 200 different chemicals on her skin and on her face and going into her body every morning. That's something to really be aware of. So,
well, I think also too, Mike, it's like, as people walk around and they're like, oh, woe is me. Why did I get COVID? So-and-so died of a virus. Why do I have cancer? Why do I have heart disease? Why do I have autoimmune? Why is my thyroid? Why can't I lose weight? All these different health problems that everybody has, again, you're not genetically designed for this. None of us are. We're genetically designed to be perfect until man-made chemicals mess everything up. So all of these things that people slather on their skin and slather, again, like, spray all over their house, and how everybody's running around with these hand sanitizers right now. And again, it's just the way masks, surgical masks are produced, they're all produced with formaldehyde, and people are just breathing in these poisons all day long, and they don't think anything of it. And I think what's even crazier too regarding the whole mask thing right now is that it's one thing if you're a surgeon and you were trained to wear a mask, like, it's like it kind of came with the job and you've experienced that. Now you've asked millions and millions of people to all of a sudden throw a covering over their face. I think it's catastrophic on so many different levels. I hate the government's response. I think it's absolutely sinister at best. And again, my approach would have been, whatever this is, let it blow through all of society. Let the healthy become immune. Some people that are again have a lot of risk factors, they will get sick, they will die. People always die. It's just the way that the human existence is. Yeah.
I have I do a lot of preaching to everybody around my area about it, and I just try to give people a lot of knowledge. And just try to share, like, the facts that I hear working in the health field in a doctor's office, and getting to talk to nurses and people that work in different hospitals and things, and having people across the country that reach out to me to let me know what they're actually seeing. I try to share that knowledge as much as I can locally. I should have more courage and do it on here, but it's a new platform to me, and I don't want to lose it yet. So,
well, I mean, listen, I mean, it kind of like goes in general, just as far as, like, putting yourself out there on social media, or even in a family, virtual gathering, if that was to happen, those of us that always seem to have controversial opinions. It's always against the mainstream, and it always seems like a fight. And you get into so many different arguments and stuff like that. But the time to tell the truth is now. Censorship will be alive and well always. There's, again, if we're afraid to speak our truth for fear of getting shut down, we were kicked off Vimeo, we were kicked off Pinterest. Both of those websites can kiss my ass. And again, it's just, we got to continue to speak our truth. And, again, it sounds easier said than done, but that's the only way we're going to survive as a species.
Yeah. Yeah. And I 100% agree with that. So, well, let's move on. Something we didn't really touch on is sugar. And, man, I want to keep on what we were talking about, but we should keep on track with what we're.
Well, I mean, listen, when it comes back to sugar, because I think that everybody needs to know that, it's not just about heart. When you talk about saturated fat and its importance, it's not just about it's beneficial for heart and for brain. A lot of the stuff, as again, it goes into really something that's fundamental across all illnesses is the immune system. And with a healthy immune system, we don't have heart disease. With a healthy immune system, we don't have autoimmune disease like lupus and Crohn's and ulcerative colitis and Hashimoto's thyroiditis. With a healthy immune system, we don't have brain diseases. So it really comes down to, again, how do we support a healthy immune system to keep us healthy against viruses and bacteria? And that's what we're talking about. So yes, your program here is Life Starts with Food. And I agree that the food dynamic is important. And when you talk about eating healthy, quality, organic paleo foods, boom, when you talk about keeping your sugar intake low, well, low sugar intake is going to lead to better immune function, which leads to less chances of dying of viral pneumonia, heart disease, brain disease, autoimmune disease, cancer, you name it. Cancer is a disease of immune dysfunction.
Yeah.
When the chemicals in your world damage your immune system, now cancer can flourish. That is the only way it happens. So that's how we keep ourselves bulletproof with the strategies that we're talking about, whether it's eating quality sat fat, whether it's keeping low sugar, organic, chemical-free paleo foods. That's the answer.
Yeah. Yeah. And we just haven't, 100 years is not long enough for our bodies to adapt into having these chemicals that we're putting on everything and into the stripped foods, the chemically stripped foods. And we don't have the time to adapt to this yet. And I would argue we probably never will have the time for that. But I know a lot of the studies on saturated fat, they do come from saturated fat in relationship to like a high carbohydrate diet potentially. And they never show that correlation in the studies. So all the times it shows that saturated fat is causing all these damaging issues with the body and all these problems with the body, it's oftentimes a high carbohydrate diet and a high sugar diet that is along with that saturated fat. Do you see that as well in your practice with patients?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's for sure, and that's the problem again with forgetting about common sense and relying on the studies, because as you know, dietary studies are very, very, very difficult to do, and they're very rarely randomized. So you can't randomize double-blind, placebo-controlled trial on these dietary interventions. It's very, very difficult to do, and when they do it, it shows the saturated fat is not a problem. So again, the people that, when you look at saturated fat, it was like, okay, well, people that were consuming a lot of beef fat from McDonald's French fries that also had McDonald's milkshakes, on and on and on. It's multiple different dietary factors, lifestyle factors, where they're more likely to smoke, less likely to exercise, less likely to get sunshine, they get poor sleep, where they're around other chemicals. Again, there's so many other factors that are involved. But again, you can't vilify a pasture-raised egg or an organic coconut, or again, eating grass-fed beef liver that our ancestors have been doing for millions of years.
Yeah.
It's just use common sense and live the common sense lifestyle, and you're there. You'll do it. You'll be fine.
Common sense is not so common, and it's usually offensive to people as well. But something you touched on there, sunshine. So my business's life starts with food, but as I progress in my beliefs, I almost feel like sunshine, water, sleep are probably far more important than even the food aspect. And a little bit of activity thrown in there, and that's super important. But really, if you're getting sunshine and you're sleeping well, you want to be active, and so it's
okay.
just
Let's talk about this for you personally, from a marketing standpoint. Life starts with food, but what is the food? What is the food?
yeah.
The food of health, like what nourishes our health. So sunshine as food, sleep
Hmm.
as food, physical activity is food,
Yeah.
happiness and relaxation is food, and then again things like that we eat, or drink, as far as the food category as well. So I think the point that you just made is that, because I was in that same arena as well. It's like, okay, it's 2005. I'm learning about health and wellness. Well, hey, let's talk about like the best diets. Let's study this
Yeah.
stuff, because medical doctors, we get zero training in nutrition. So let's look at this stuff. And then it's like, again, it just goes back to, what did our ancestors eat for millions of years? Weston A. Price, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, a book he writes in the 1920s about eating paleo hunter-gatherer foods. Wow, this makes perfect sense. But then, is the food story any more important than sleep? No way. Sleep predates food as we know of it. And again, if the earth has been around for 4 billion years, and the sun's been around for 11 billion years, numbers in time we can't even comprehend. So again, like life on earth evolved in with the darkness and the light cycles. So appreciating darkness, appreciating light, and then while we're in the light, getting plenty of that sunshine. And then again, food story starts later, because we're debating about what humans have been eating for 3 million years. And can we go back and say, well, again, life on Earth for billions of years, how that all came about? Again, a lot of things are made while we're sleeping. A lot of things are made in our bodies. Proteins and stuff like that are made in our bodies when we are awake in the sun, and they're two totally different things. And the bacteria have the same life cycles as well. So again, sleep, sun, it's all critical for heart health. And let's stop debating about, just make the food organic, and take that to lower on the rung. Let's focus again on that appropriate sleep, on that appropriate sunshine. And then the other area I would touch on, Mike, too, is that especially now, at a time when fear and anger and anxiety is an all-time high. When I walk into Whole Foods and I'm not wearing a mask, and I get into an argument with people, and people come up to me, again, it's just that fear, that hatred, that venom that is more unhealthy than any food
Yeah.
consideration.
I would always, I try to tell people, and I don't know if I've even said it on here before, but if at any time someone says something to you and you feel yourself like immediately angry and recoiled, that's usually a sign for me that I have to stop, think about what they said, and consider why it made me angry. Now, there's a different, if you just feel super bad energy from when someone says something and you lean back, but it doesn't affect your anger, you're just like, you feel gross almost, that's usually a good sign. Like, that's a sign that inside that's wrong. But when you feel anger and you're ready to fight back, there's something wrong there. There's something in your own psyche that's going, hey man, you need to step back and take a look inside and see if what this person's saying is right, and maybe it's going against one of your own principles that are maybe falsely seated. And that's just in my own mind, but that's something that has really helped in this time with all of the, like you said, the venom that's out there. There's a bunch of fear mongering going on, and any other time there's fear mongering.
Yeah, I mean, what?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's I'm not sure what the right answer is. Maybe there's a time and a place for both. Again, it's like every time I go into Whole Foods, and knowing I'm going to get into an argument, or potential for an argument, is that healthy for me? Again, my wife doesn't mind going in there and arguing. She's just ready for battle, and she's not concerned about it. Her personally, the the confrontation does not impact her. She
Yeah.
embraces that because she knows that it's an opportunity to change minds. If she can, again, get into an argument with somebody in Whole Foods and possibly open up their mind to it, then she's accomplished her goal. Me
Yeah.
personally, sometimes I just want to walk through, whether it's a natural grocers, and again, people come by and they're like, wear a mask, like, why aren't you wearing a mask? Or, your kids should be wearing masks. Again, I could argue every single time, with them and say masks are dangerous, they're harmful. There's no adequate science that says that they're beneficial. In fact, we can show evidence that they are harmful to you individually and to society in general. I mean, how is it for all these children or these babies that they're walking around? How do I explain to my 2.5-year-old why everybody is wearing masks?
Yeah. Yeah. We were sitting in church the other day. The kids get up to leave for like the Sunday school, and quite a lot of them have masks on, and they're just like marching down the aisles to go to Sunday school. And I was heartbroken, because it's just kind of like follow the leader and just do no matter. I don't know. We're all trying to be sensitive to others, and that's a good thing in some ways. But man, you can only be sensitive to others for so long, and then you just have to live your own truth, and which is. Usually I like to think I'm on the side of truth. I try to think about things well enough. But and something you said, I didn't realize that they make masks with using formaldehyde. I cannot stand the smell of masks. I didn't realize that they did that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these things these aren't from organic cotton. Again, they're all chemicals. And again, as it's like if you, for example, I was on an airline flight, and I decided, this plane smells so bad from all the chemical cleaning agents, I'm going to go ahead and wear my mask. And I had just your standard surgical mask that I used to wear when I was doing surgical procedures. And again, you can smell everything through it. So if you can smell things through it, it means, of course, viral particles are getting into it. There's no protective, benefit of it whatsoever. It is a sham. It is a lie. And again, if we don't fight about this, if we don't argue about this, if we don't continue to speak the truth, governments and people will want us to stay masked in perpetuity. Hey, it's flu season, let's wear masks. It becomes the standard of how our world is, where everybody's walking around in masks. This is catastrophic on so many levels. And again, I don't care about getting kicked off media. I don't care about getting into fights. I don't care about family members or friends who unfriend me. You know what? It's like they're just fools in my mind. Yeah. They're just sheep. They're the problem. And again, it just continues on where, again, quarantine, out of work, business is ruined, sickness, prevails. Again, this flu season, whatever that is, will be the worst on record, because again, everybody's immune system is further getting destroyed.
Yeah. And service industry in Pennsylvania here near Pittsburgh, $5,000-$6,000 bills for buying all your produce for the week, and then you're told the next day that you're shutting down for a whole week. Well, now you have the whole week worth of bills, all those things. $6,000 is beyond the margin that they run on. They are broke and dead in the water at that point, and that's happened 4 or 5 times now in Pittsburgh. So it's a very painful thing to be around. But it's a hard thing to understand.
Well, once again, at the end of the day, it's like people are like, stay at home. Okay, everybody stay at home. The government prints money. They send it to everybody, and then they could shop on Amazon and watch Netflix and get Uber Eats. If that's the world people want to live in, that's what they're going to get, because that is the way it's going. And if you look at the stock market and you follow where the money is going, again, that's where the money is going. The money is going to investment in everything like that. And the mom and pop stores and businesses I know and friends that I have, their businesses are gone, and they're probably never going to come back. And it was no fault of their own. They didn't make a bad investment. They didn't make a bad business strategy. It was just the government came in and destroyed them. And this is all, you want to read some, excellent things, read Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. And, she's predicting what's happening 70 years ago, and it's happening. It's absolutely happening.
Yeah, it's an incredible thing. So if you want, kind of in the same realm, something that is really off, something that seems really off for people, and really rebellious, a carnivore diet. So we're like shifting gears, but not completely. So, because a lot of what we said there, a lot of people don't agree with. But the carnivore diet is a really scary thing to people. They think, how in the world can you eat nothing but meat and stay healthy? And we were talking before we came on. It's not for everybody. It might be a great reboot or a reset for people. The jury's still out on how it's working, but for me personally, I've been on and off of one for about 1.5 2 years because of health problems in my gut, and I'm still trying to work on them. I live right next to a coal-fired plant and a nuclear power plant. Our next big health journey is going to be to get my amalgam fillings out and also to move away from these things. So what are your thoughts, and because you've done some carnivore 7-day challenges in the practice, and what do you see so far with the carnivore approach in terms of heart health?
Yeah, Mike and Kim, if you're still listening, you guys would love where we're at in Colorado. Love it, love it, love it. Carnivore. So yeah, I agree with you. So I mean, again, the definition of carnivore is eating mostly meat. I mean, so something that is, even lions and tigers do eat plant food as well. But again, 70+% of their diet is meat related. And, we do carnivore challenges, and that typically is close to 100% animal products, meat, seafood, and eggs, including fish eggs, which I think fish eggs are some of the healthiest food in the world. Again, it's hard to compete with the value of eating fish eggs. I mean, like, fish come to life from their egg. I mean, it's unreal. So carnivore, I think, is certainly beneficial for the long term. I am the Paleo Cardiologist. I believe in paleo, hunter-gatherer as the long-term strategy. We eat plants, we eat animals. That's the way humans have been built. Carnivore, again, but it is a very complete diet in the sense that you're getting, you're getting everything that the animal ate. So you're reaping those benefits. And of course, we're talking about quality. We're talking about free-range grass-fed meats, wild seafoods, pasture-raised eggs. Organ meats often get missed in even carnivore diets as well. And we definitely suggest eating organ. But you know what? I mean, listen, trying it for a week and seeing how you do. Lots of websites, Sean Baker, Paul Saladino. I was on his podcast, about a month ago. These guys, are medical doctors, and they look bulletproof, by following carnivore. They look fantastic. Their numbers look fantastic. And again, when it comes, you talked before about sugar. Well, carnivore is zero sugar. And in doing so, your immune system is bulletproof, heart, brain, everything just gets better. And what's nice about a challenge like this too is that it breaks food addiction. So whatever you're addicted to, sugar, grain, corn, soy, it helps to break those addictions. I will say this though, is that you can still have coffee on carnivore, and you're still part of the tribe.
Yeah.
Organic
and
coffee.
In terms of, I agree with that one. Yeah. In terms of the addiction, I have had major food addictions my whole life. And a lot of those addictions I've found are caused by the foods I'm intolerant or allergic to. And if I keep those in my diet, I can't stop eating. No matter what, I can't stop. As soon as I cut those out, it takes a few days, and boom, that addiction goes away. So when I find myself any given time starting to just crave everything, I have to start looking at my diet, and it's like, oh man, maybe something tweaked, and maybe there's something wrong with chocolate now. Maybe I had some non-organic chocolate and it affected my gut lining, and who knows what. So that's something that really has really been a big change in my life. When I went carnivore, it was the first time in my life that and I'm talking at 33 years old, it was the first time in my life that I actually felt satiated after a meal. Like, it took 2.5 pounds of meat in one sitting. And I finally just went, I'm done. And I realized my whole life, my body was craving protein, like more protein than I ever had. And then a couple of days of that, it balanced out. And I was back to eating more normal amounts of meat. And my food cravings, they just plummeted. I didn't think about food at all. And it was the most amazing, for like the first week was just the most amazing thing. And you just feel like you're floating when you're walking, you just feel like you're up here. So,
I mean, listen, I've seen 35,000 patients, and every single one of them is addicted to carbs and sugar in one form or another. Whether it's cookies, cupcakes, and ice cream, or it's potato chips or pretzels, pasta, bread, or it's alcohol. It's all a carb addiction. Some people are addicted to all three. Some people just two. Some people just one. But again, everybody's got their addictions, and it's really horrible.
yeah.
And again, and none of this stuff existed up until frankly 100 years ago. Really, for most people, so many people on planet Earth were hunter gatherers up until 100 years ago. So, you're not alone on this, but clearly it's a crisis that's occurring to everybody. And I think, again, whether it's a water fast, a juice fast, a carnivore challenge, these are great ways just to kind of, again, just put an abrupt stop to all these addictions and come out the other side better. Now, again, you typically can fall back into it, but again, just these are the answers. These are the answers to your health problems.
Yeah. And speaking of, if anybody has questions, leave a comment and we will try to answer them. My wife did say, when you were talking about Colorado, she said, sign me up. So we are big travelers. That's one of our favorite hobbies together. We had a trip to Portugal planned for our 10-year anniversary in April, and did not happen, clearly. And but so now we're just looking for places in the U.S. to come to. So we might be knocking on your door sometime.
Anytime, buddy. Yeah. Anytime.
That'd be cool. And she's a big fan of Arizona too. So.
Yeah, Arizona, listen, I lived in Arizona for 16 years. We moved to Colorado 2 years ago. And, I'm not going to sit here and bash on Arizona, but again, Phoenix, like any large city, Phoenix, LA, Chicago, Boston, New York, Pittsburgh, so on and so forth, Philadelphia. I mean, again, these are, big polluted industrial cities. Mm-hmm. And, along with the air pollution that comes with it, light pollution, noise pollution, and electrical pollution. And electrical pollution may be the worst out of all of them. So as 5G gets installed everywhere, and now there's just a 5G tower on every single street corner, again, the consequences of this are going to be catastrophic on so many different levels. We're running this planet and the human species right into the ground. Yeah. And, it's happening quickly, but it's also happening a little too slowly for the masses to wake up. It's kind of like you're the frog in the boiling water, but again, it's like a slow boil, so you don't know it until you're dead. It's not like you get in there and touch it and it's hot and you stay out of it. This is like the slow boil of the frog who doesn't even know that they're about to die.
Yeah, and for people out there who don't understand EMF, it can come from Bluetooth. It can come from all different things. I had an EMF specialist on a week or two back, and another guy that's out in San Diego that knows a lot about EMFs. But if you're ever in your car and you have your Bluetooth on and you start getting like the tension headache where you're just like, man, I'm so stressed. Like I had a really long day, but you didn't do anything. That's from Bluetooth. I get that all the time. Dr. Al Dannenberg, who's a dentist, a paleo dentist, and beat cancer with the carnivore diet, as well as a few other approaches, plus a PEMF mat, pulsed electromagnetic frequency. He turned me onto that mat, so I'm actually trying that out to help with my electromagnetic sensitivity. It's a pricey device, but thankfully I was able to rent it for a month to see how it kind of feels, and I'll probably have those guys on soon to talk about it, because it's really an amazing thing for pain relief, especially. So do you have anything else? If you do, or go ahead.
Yeah, Mike, what I would just say on that is that, again, like there's all kind of devices that are billed for XYZ. The answer, and the only answer, is to get out of it.
Yeah.
It's to get out of it. Now, again, I understand a lot of people, hey, my job is here, wherever here is. My family is here. My life is here. I understand all that. But if you're looking for the answer is not here. The answer is somewhere else that doesn't have all of the environmental chemicals and toxins and pollutants in the environment.
Yeah.
You cannot get healthy in the same environment where you got sick. You can't. You have to change it up.
That's a good
And
point.
that's the only salvation. It's like people are telling me, oh, well, what about this, device that you attach to the phone? Again, I'm not saying that I'm out of the tech industry. I mean, listen, I'm sitting in my car. I'm using the Bluetooth over sitting outside at Whole Foods. But as much as you can get rid of tech, listen, at the very least, unplug Wi-Fi at night. That's
Hmm.
number one. That's the
Yeah.
easiest thing when you go to sleep with the sun, shortly after sundown. At this time of year, we go to sleep. The Wolfsons go to sleep at 9:30. The Wi-Fi has been off already for a while.
Yeah.
And we actually turn off, we hit the circuit breaker, the fuse box. We turn off the fuse to the bedrooms where family members sleep. We turn it
Yeah.
off every night. And frankly, because we don't, because we go to sleep on time, we don't even turn them on during the day. It's just we've turned off the electricity to the
Hmm.
bedrooms. Where it's just not needed. I mean, there's so many things I'm sure your Wi-Fi expert, delved into. Just unplug as many things as you can unplug is absolutely critical. There's different meters to get that, again, can be very beneficial. Use
Yeah. I
Ethernet.
have a whole stack on the shelf over here.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you really need to up your game, going forward is in those arenas. And,
Yeah.
you with gut issues as well. It's just, how does tech, tech influences everybody different ways. And some people it's brain, some people it's heart, some people it's gut. And then
Yeah.
the gut leads the heart and brain and so on and so forth. And these are, so it's so important now more than ever.
Yeah. And this is something people don't like to hear either. And do not use this as an excuse not to get healthy. But the healthier you get, the more you are aware when these things affect you. So don't ever use as an excuse not to get healthier. However, be aware that if you're getting really healthy, you're eating all the stuff that that Dr. Jack's telling you to eat, and you're starting to feel like, you notice when you go to a hotel, you feel groggy and gross from a hotel. You start feeling nasty from Starbucks coffee. All these different things happen because you start being more susceptible. You just feel the actual effects of these drugs and of these electromagnetic frequencies compared to when your body was numb. You didn't feel it. So if you guys resonate with Dr. Jack and you want to, he has a virtual practice. You can see him in person in Arizona, or you can see him virtually. I'm going to share the page right here. Let's bring this up. Because I love that you are just, you're blunt about things in a good way. Like you're not rude to people. You just tell it like it is. The amount of times I've heard you say, if you don't feel good where you live, move. It's like, yeah, it's just truth. Just move. So this is the website that drwolfson.com, or I'm sorry, the doctorswolfson.com. This is you and your wife, and you guys. I'm trying to think if it was on here. There was a storybook video that you guys had. It was just the coolest thing, man.
Yeah, the storybook video is somewhere. I got to find that. We did some marketing changes and stuff like that. I got to find that video. It's somewhere. We'll find it. But
Yeah,
listen, for anybody who wants my book, when you're on the website, the free book offer pops down. You can also go to freeheartbook.com and get a copy of my book for free. All you do is pay shipping and handling, freeheartbook.com, and you are good to go. Let's see.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's me, there's the book, there's me talking, and my those are organic scrubs, by the way, organic cotton scrubs.
Nice.
So what can
I should
tell
get
you?
those for the girls at the office I work for. They'd be happy about that.
I don't even think they make them anymore. The
Oh, you're
organic
kidding.
scrubs. I think they're tough, and it's just, again, like they're a little bit more difficult to wash, and again, you got to it's they're not convenient, but they are healthy. They're pretty cool to wear. So
Yeah.
maybe they still make them somewhere. I don't know. I think the company we used. Yeah, there we are. Instagram. We were hiking yesterday. I love posting outdoor activities, that my family and I are doing, whether, we're gardening, outdoor, mountain biking, stand-up paddle boarding, There's my wife, bottom left, getting into an argument with a woman who's all masked up in Aspen. That's always a treat. So
downhill right there, man. That looks fun.
That's so intense, so
intense.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrific. And then you have several Facebook pages too. Let's see. I mean, you're not scared to put info out there, and I love that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I try and put out stuff, that's poignant and, whatnot. And, I'll disappear off the grid for a couple of days and won't post. And I'll come back in and I'll be doing some research and I'll get into a string of, a few posts in a row. This is my personal practice page. Thank you. For anybody who's got cardiovascular issues, certainly we do phone consultations. We do in-person consultations about anything cardiac. And yeah. It's all good.
This is
terrific. I appreciate you and having me on. And, again, just trying to get that message out there of the truth about real health and wellness. That's the only thing that's going to save the day. The vaccine's not going to save us. The masks aren't going to save us. The only thing is keeping ourselves healthy. That's the answer.
Yeah, and I'm really glad we did go into some of those topics today that I haven't touched on yet because, in the middle of all this, people were getting everything shut down for bringing up anything. I don't know if that's still happening or not, but I care a little less about that now. So just keep in mind, like a vaccine doesn't work all that well for the flu. So why is it supposed to work for something that it's never once worked for ever in the history of the coronavirus? It's not going to really help out with it. So, and if a vaccine is able to work, that means herd immunity naturally should also be able to work. So it doesn't work without that. So keep your immunity up, eat real food, get sunshine. Holy cow. Like the things we talked about today, and earthing. Talk about an anti-inflammatory. Put your feet on the earth. One of the first chapters of the Bible talks about God made paraphrasing, God made the sun to charge the earth, and we are to live on the earth, literally on the earth. We're supposed to touch it. There's so much that happens there for us, guys. So,
here's the problem with that is that when the Bible was written, the earth was pure. And now the earth is full of dirty electricity. So, if you live on the beach somewhere or down by the river, you'll probably get a lot better earth there than you will, again, if you are somewhere where you're even remotely near power lines or cables that run underground or fences that are electrified. The earth is now artificially electrified, and there are companies also that do you can use different meters to test the ground of where you're at and
body
see
voltage
how
meters,
dangerous it is and stuff like that. Trifold meters and stuff like that, looking at electric, looking at magnetic forces, looking at radio frequency. Really everybody should do their best to up their game on EMF because it is 21st century annihilation.
It's a new form.
It is.
Yeah. So for anybody who lives near Pittsburgh, I do have almost all of those meters, and I have started doing stuff with my EMF specialist. She lives on the other side of the state, so she can't come here, but we work together on those consults. So I go in and do the testing and give her all the data. So, and that's super fun for me. I love meeting new people that are like-minded, and that's like, what a cool way to do that. So,
yeah, Mike, that's a tremendous service, man. That's a tremendous service. We need a lot more people like you who are doing that because that really, it really helps on so many different levels. Again, it just, it's like, life starts with food, but again, as we mentioned, kind of like, what is the food? And the food is just a healthy everything. It's a healthy environment. It's healthy nutrition. That's what it's all about. And that's our, our nourishment.
Dr. Jack, this was tons of fun. Oh, my wife just now chimes in real fast. She says, "What's on your grocery list for Whole Foods?"
Yeah, we actually, I just kind of come over here and suck off the Wi-Fi usually just to kind of get out of the house. We're up in the mountains. Our Wi-Fi service is not very good up there because it's all cellular. It's not landline, which is a shame. But it's nice to be off the grid, which is why we moved there. But usually, I'm sure just like you guys do, we try and frequent as many farmers markets as possible, support local. We'll go to natural grocers. I try and keep the Whole Foods, stuff to a minimum. But inside Whole Foods, I will get fish eggs, for example.
Yeah.
I'll try and find locally sourced vegetables, fruit when it's in season. But some of the seafood, that they find here, that's, listen, we eat hunter-gatherer foods. And the other thing, once again, we're 100% organic and we're 100% gluten-free. Those are two fantastic places to start, because gluten, again, I've seen it in my patients, and it just makes common sense that we're not built to eat wheat bread, and we never have, and we never should.
Yeah, we don't have beaks, so most grains are out of the question for humans. So, Dr. Jack, this was terrific, man. I had a lot of fun today, and I'm really glad we went down some of the routes we did. It was an absolute pleasure. Hang on just for a minute. I'm going to end the broadcast here. Everybody that watched, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and let us know anything you want in the comments. Let us know what you thought of this. If you want to have Dr. Jack on with other questions, I'm just really grateful to have met him and been introduced to him, and get to glean some knowledge from him. So, everybody have a great day.